Alright, guys, I just came back from watching Suicide Squad for a third time. It was really awesome. Now, I just wanted to share a couple of things with you guys. For those people who don't know what a Harlequin is, a Harlequin is basically a jokester who uses pantomime. He doesn't actually speak. So I thought I would just go into that. Harley Quinn, who is a member of the Suicide Squad, actually is a form of a Joker. It's just that uh, if you think about it, a Harley Quinn represents the Joker's aide, and she's secondary to the Joker in Joker's perspective. In her perspective, she's slave to the Joker because she thinks she's in love with him. So she does his bidding, and she's secondary to him. That's why she doesn't, in a way, she doesn't have the freedom of speech. She doesn't have a voice. She really is the Joker, the Joker's voice, right? So that's where Harley Quinn comes from. It's a harlequin, and that's the deeper meaning behind that. Now, for those people who were saying that Harley Quinn and Joker have an equal relationship and they're in love, and no. Harley Quinn thinks she's in love in the movie, okay? I looked at the movie. The Joker's the one making all the demands. The Joker's the one telling her that she needs to make these vows. The Joker's the one who, even though he goes back in there to get her, at the end of the day, it's the Joker controlling everything. And Harley Quinn is like his slave. She will do whatever he asks her to do. And of course, if you look at her expectations or desires, is that she would have this normal relationship with an abnormally crazy person. She has the desires of any other woman in the world who falls in love with a guy. She wants to settle down and have a family, a normal family. Yes, crazy people can think that they can have a normal family too. So that's basically Harlequin's or Harley Quinn's story story arc. Her story arc is she basically bases her whole life. She lives for the Joker. And he said, "Will you die for me? Will you live for me?" She actually lives for the Joker to unite with him and do his bidding. Okay, so for those people who think, "Oh, this is a love relation," no. Harley Quinn is just a tool that the Joker uses. Okay, but her world comes to an end, and you saw her throw away her pudding dog leash or bracelet, whatever you want to call it. She threw it away because her world came to an end because she thought the Joker was dead. She thought he died in the crash, the helicopter crash. Now, you see Harley Quinn carry on with her life from that horrible tragedy. She says you own it, and this is her belief. And this is what she gave in a therapy session with the group when they were taking a drink together. But more importantly, you see her accept and take on the Suicide Squad. One thing I thought was very interesting in the movie, when the professor, I think it's Van Chris, when he disarmed the bomb that was in Harley Quinn's neck, I am interested to find out how he disarmed the bomb, because I thought it was it brings about some curiosity. And what's curious to me is, did he block the signals to cause the bomb to blow up in her neck, or did he actually somehow deactivate something that was supposed to trigger something in her neck for the bomb? Because why that's important to the story is because of this. In this particular story, Harley Quinn, if she's still under duress, if the 99 explosive in her neck is still operational, it just means that Harley Quinn, when Amanda Waller threatens them once again, Harley Quinn has to do it under duress, right? Or even when Rick Flag is in control of the group, she's doing it under duress. If not, if the Dr. Van Chris, if he somehow disarms the bomb so that no other detonating device could actually detonate it, then that would mean that Harley Quinn came back to the group voluntarily. She wanted to be a part of something because she had lost the Joker. Her world had come to an end, so there was no reason. She was just abiding with the group as this. She took on them. as adopted. I don't know what you would call it. Her new allegiance, her new loyalty. So that would be an interesting dynamic as well, and it would probably explain why, even though um, Amanda Waller's threatening them at the end, Harley Quinn doesn't care, and she's talking about an espresso machine. It's almost like she wants to just go live in Belle Reve prison. She doesn't have a problem lodging there for some cuckoo reason, right? I say this because one way or the other, I don't know exactly how Dr. Van Chris disabled the bomb or disarmed it. I don't know if he jammed the signal to blow it up. I'm assuming that's probably what he did. Um, and of course, if you do realize Professor Van Chris was under threat by the Joker, who had stuck a bomb in his own neck as well. He had actually injected a bomb into his neck, so he would do his bidding. So I thought it was very interesting that issue with Dr. Van Chris. We're not really clear on if he disarmed the bomb through actually disarming the technology for the bomb in there to trigger it, or if he actually jammed the signal so that he couldn't disarm the nanite technology in her neck. I think it's the latter, to be honest with you. It would be much harder to sort of disarm the trigger. I think it would be the trigger itself in her neck. I think it would be much more easier to jam the signal to detonate the trigger. That makes more sense to me. But anyway, I thought that would change the slant of what's happening. Because remember, Harley Quinn lives for the Joker, right? She lives for the Joker. You have to understand this. And if you look at Harley Quinn, you see all of these are Harlequins here. She literally takes on the role of a Harlequin. See? That's a Harlequin right there. They're generally brightly colored, and they're pantomimes, basically. And she looks like that. See? And again, very important. She's the Harlequin for the Joker. She lives for the Joker. See? That's very important for you to understand. And you saw her in her traditional costume a little bit. So I thought I would just go into that because I thought it was very interesting about the film and how Harlequin actually lives for the Joker. In fact, in a certain part of the film, there was a tribute to this particular portrait of the Joker and Harlequin in the classical sense. You could see the Joker was smiling, and then he just stopped smiling. He got serious when he looked at the camera, showing that he wasn't really happy with what was happening. It's like Harlequin is this extra baggage. Yet he can't shake her off just like that. He would like to, because she probably has a lot in common with him, and she's good use to him. She can be useful to him at some point. So anyway, I thought I would share that with you guys. Again, I went and saw the film a second time. Really a fun film. Again, I've been scrutinizing it with a critical eye to see what people were saying, if there's any merit in what they were talking about with the pacing and the editing. And I have to be honest with you guys. I don't really see a problem with the pacing or the editing. Not even the soundtrack for the film. Even the Eminem part that people say seems out of place. Or even some of the spoofs and the jokes, like Killer Croc talking about asking for BT. This movie, again, in my opinion, having seen it the second time in the cinema, I will say this. One thing I found was the lighting was still a little too dark, at least in the cinema I was in. I didn't go and watch it in IMAX, so I don't know how it is in IMAX. The 3D was good, but I thought that the lighting was a little too dark. I had to squint a lot to see the images in the movie. And I thought they could at least, maybe, if you see it in IMAX, it's much more distinct and you can see the images much better. But I thought that the cinematography was a little too dark, and I thought also that the end scene, while I understand why they did the slow motion sequence with Harley throwing the gun to Deadshot taking aim, Killer Croc throwing the set of explosives into the thing, it's all in slow motion. I get it. It's the grand time, it's the gravitas of the end. And again, I thought the end scene, the end fight was, sometimes you had to suspend your belief a little bit in the end scene because I thought some things held out a little too long. But even so, I still thought it was kind of appropriate to the film. Now I look at it again a second time. the story being told. See, I don't know. I don't understand how critics can go into a story. If your thing is about dealing with storytelling and you watch a lot of films and you watch a lot of stories being told, you're supposed to be able to do this. Unless you switched off your mind and thought this is a comic book movie, so they need to have all these bright colors and it needs to look like Marvel. If that's your problem, then that's the only thing I can think of. Or you anticipate this film to be the greatest film of all time for some reason, and I don't know what you were imagining, and you didn't do any homework, you didn't go read up on the Suicide Squad, you didn't find out about what Suicide Squad is about, the essence of it at least, so you could be able to judge it on the story and see how the story tells itself. I mean, as a critic, in my opinion, if you're looking at any film, I would advise a critic to do some homework before you go and watch a film. You know, the critics of old time were very good at viewing film, okay? And again, times have changed, so, you know, we go with the times. But I'm seeing now, I'm not seeing the quality of criticism and the objectivity of criticism. There must be a certain, yes, critiques are subjective, but there must be a certain level of objectivity in your criticism. You have to build your criticism off of some kind of pillar. And I find these jokers who come from wherever they come from, who don't have any kind of interest in what they're going to watch at, which is not a problem. But when you're going to watch film, and then you tell me that it has fundamental flaws, but you don't understand the story of the film. You don't even know the plot of the film. Like, you never went away. I don't understand. If you can't figure out the story of a simple film like this, what are you doing critiquing films? I heard a film critic just very recently there, very hypocritical. He said he enjoyed the film, first of all. Then he turns around and says he hated the film. And he goes on to stress points that he hated the film in. And then this critic said he actually signed off from the film. And the only thing that kept him from leaving is the fact that he had to stay. So if you've signed out of a film, how are you going to critique it? You get what I'm saying? You see, when you're going to critique a film, it's not so much about whether you like the film or you hate the film. Because if you're just going on sheer emotion, and then you're telling me that this film was horrible, you're going to use a lot of adjectives. And like some people say, you use a lot of hyperbole, but you're not saying anything. There's a lot of hyperbole, but there's no substance. And you keep on repeating yourself, it was a bad film. How? Don't tell me the cinematography was bad. Show me what you mean. A film critic, like the film critics of old, would break down the elements of film and show you how these elements of film they're not interplaying as the story would like them to interplay. Because filmmaking and film critiquing is about a story. It's about storytelling. And when you look at the story that was being told, you saw certain things were deficient in telling that story. That's how you do a balanced critique. You don't go into all these hyperboles and adjectives, but you're not effectively saying anything. The cinematography was bad. That means nothing to me. The film was very dark. Means nothing to me. You haven't said anything. You haven't informed me. If I'm somebody going to watch a movie and I go to look at a critique, I need a critique that is not filled with adjectives but gives me substance. It must not be so overly subjective that it starts to cloud the objective criteria that needs to be judged, a film needs to be judged on. And don't tell me that as a professional, someone who is supposed to be paid to do this, that you cannot come from an objective perspective. It does not matter if you hated a film. What matters is that you understand the elements of the film. Because you can hate a perfectly good film. You can hate a perfectly good film. It didn't vibe with you. That's fine. But make sure when you're critiquing a film, because you may not be, Comic book movies, or certain comic book movies based on comic books, may not appeal to you. All right? Dark films may not appeal to you, etc., etc., etc. Fine. Two things I would suggest to these critics. Again, one, if you know that you're going to go in and not like a DCEU movie, what the hell are you going in there to review it for? You don't understand the flavor. You know you're going to go buy an ice cream cone. You know you don't like that flavor. What the hell are you going to buy it for? You know you're not going to like the flavor. What are you going to watch the film for free to give a bad review when you know this is not your flavor? This is not your kind of thing. If you're somebody who critiques horror movies and you like horror movies, stay in your lane. What the hell are you coming across to critique a movie you know you wouldn't like an animated cartoon, a Disney animated cartoon? You like horror movies. You don't like Disney animated cartoons. You're going to talk ill of the Disney animated cartoon. Stay in your lane. So I find it hypocritical when certain critics come and they pan a movie, but first of all, you had some interest in it, but you never really were going to enjoy this movie to begin with. Some of these critics said, from the trailers, I knew I wasn't going to like this movie. Okay then, so why the hell did you go to the screening? Well, because my paper, no, don't tell me your magazine. Because you have multiple people in a magazine to cover a certain topic. So why, in God's name, would you go and critique something you know you don't like? Knowing full well, you're going to express how much you don't like it. You're not going to express objectively, or a certain degree at least of objectivity. No. You're going to go in there and bash the movie. You're looking to pick the movie apart. I heard a critic straight up tell me, or say it on YouTube. He said, I went in to tear this movie apart. Okay? So, if that's what you like doing, tearing apart things, and that's why you're going in, because yes, I got something to tear apart. Except for the fact that you haven't torn apart anything. When we put it under scrutiny, you didn't understand what you were watching because you were so busy trying to tear the thing apart. And I can tell these people. I watch them when they're reviewing. I watch their facial expressions. I watch their inconsistencies in their arguments of points. Now, these people say, oh, he's a fanboy. Oh, you're totally into this movie. You're totally into that movie. I said then, if I'm a fanboy, okay, let's go with your argument. If I'm a fanboy, right? And you want to prove that you're not a fanboy, then here's the thing to do. Don't go reviewing stuff where fanboys are, because when you offend them, they will attack you, and then you will talk about ad humanus or ad hominem. Okay? Like you like to say, oh, they've turned it from the issue to me. No. I'm a person like this. First thing I do is I deal with the issues. And if you're inconsistent in your issues, then I attack you. And I will attack you, and I will have no respect for you because of this. Because I know your angle. I know that you've already gone in with an objective in your heart. And you exposed it to me by a simple conversation. And I will destroy you very easily. Destroy you. Because you cannot argue with me about a film that I watched in one viewing and got it. You can't. I should be paid to do your job. That's how terrible it'll be. I would destroy you. Easily. Okay? So, for these critics, especially these critics who apparently they lose all their critical skills at certain points. I know some of them are paid to do it. I know Sony pays your ass to do things. I know Disney pays your ass to do things. And I know who's being paid and who's not being paid. You can tell. Okay? But at the end of the day, when I've shredded your arguments and destroyed them and obliterated them from off the face of the earth, you have to go back to critic school. There's no such thing as critic school, but you will have to go back to critic school and reevaluate film. Especially when you turn off your brain for certain films, like DCU films, like the X-Men Apocalypse film. When you turn off your brain, I can understand when the common audience says something that, the common audience, says, and the critics talk about it. I listen to Collider video, and sometimes I listen to certain people. John Schneff, I see him apologizing now. He's an apologist for Suicide Squad, which is very interesting to me. But even Kevin Smith becoming an apologist for Suicide Squad. Mr. Sunday Movies, he backtracked and he's like, oh yeah, I see your point. Some of these guys are wusses. They feel that they will not be accepted in the critical in the critical community. So they're like, oh, I see what you're saying. No. I don't see what you're saying, because you're talking a load of shit, right? A lot of these guys try to nitpick a movie and try to show its flaws where there aren't any flaws. And then where there are actual flaws, they miss it because they didn't know what the hell they were watching, because they were busy nitpicking. I'll give you a lot of flaws of this movie, Suicide Squad. The third act of this movie, the final battle act, had flaws. I'll give you one. Easy. There were guards standing next to Enchantress. She was on the steps going up. There were 2 pairs of guards on that step. They never did anything in the movie. Go check it out. They were right there with her while she was doing her thing with her magic. They never did anything in the movie. That's a flaw. But people will not see that because they were so busy nitpicking like idiots. There's several flaws I can show you in this movie. But that's a part of movie making. That's a part of movie making. Okay? If I want to nitpick, I will nitpick according to the story being told. Because I know what the story was. You don't go trying to judge a movie if you didn't even know what it was trying to tell. Or it was telling. It's just bad. It's horrible. And then when you try to contrive things, that's being dishonest. These are for these film reviewers and film critics. Don't be dishonest. Don't be partisan. When I go and review Captain America Civil War, you think I'm just trying to be part? I first figure out what the story is saying. The next thing I look at, I'm not trying to nitpick the story because I like it. It was a good movie. But then when I start to put it under scrutiny with a microscope, I see the plot holes and the flaws in the movie. All right? Because I understand what the story was that it was being told. Was the story that being told? Yes. It was about Captain America trying to save Bucky. That's the story of Captain America Civil War. It's a Captain America story. It has the Avengers in there, but it's a Captain America story. It is a follow-up of The Winter Soldier. Did the movie succeed in what it was attempting to do? Yes. That was the major plot. Were there plot holes throughout the story? Absolutely. Certain things were never resolved. Okay? Does it make it a bad film? No. A lot of films are like that. I can go through Apocalypse. I can go through Batman v Superman. I can go through all the films this year and I can find where certain things were not resolved and certain things were. Doesn't make them bad films. And there are different ways of storytelling. Of course, Suicide Squad did it quite well. They're talking about this excess expository in the beginning, exposition. You can do that. You can have somebody narrating a story, narrating a film. There's not a problem with narration once you are showing the visualization of that narration. There's not a problem with it. So, I can give you several movies where they begin with expository. There's not a problem with it. It's if you have expository and you're not seeing what's going on. Because the whole point of film is to see. So, my friends, I just wanted to get those things off of my belly before going to sleep. It's almost 11 o'clock. I hope you guys have a great one. This film is done well. It's very successful. Imagine it hasn't even captured the Chinese market. The Chinese market would have carried this film probably past 700 million and upwards at the end of the day. Well, I don't even know where this film's going to end. I don't even know how much it made over the weekend, you know. But I thought it did very well in spite of the very clandestinely biased, very biased, horrid reviews by the critics. They should be shot, but that's too violent, so I will not say that. But I mean, what I mean by shot, I don't mean literally shot with a gun. No. I mean shot by fans, meaning they should shut them up. They should be, fans should be going in on these critics hard because they're butchering really good films. And the rating, 26%? What the hell is that? What on earth is that? Alright? And for those people who are saying, oh, the critics have a point. The critics don't have a point. They don't. They have 0 point. Okay? If you are going, I'm a person, I review music, I review lyrics, I review audio visual. I go through tons of music. Okay? And I have to sit down and treat each song individually and give it the respect it deserves, whether I like the music or I hate the music. I must give it the respect it deserves. You have to be able to divorce yourself from your emotions to some degree when you are doing a critique. It is different to doing something where you are only there to get emotional turns and twists. Yes, you must speak about your emotions. Yes, you must speak about your personal opinion on something. But a professional is able to separate his personal opinion, bias, and emotion so that he can be as objective as possible about the thing he is assessing. That's why we have a criteria for films. Anyway, people, I think I've said enough. And I think the old school would be turning in their graves to see what these modern critics are doing. How they're slashing and destroying the art of criticism of movies. It's not only about being impartial. Obviously, you're going to be subjective. There's things that are going to appeal to you and things that are not going to appeal to you. But it's when your bias affects the content of your criticism that is a serious problem. When you cannot see the merits of what is being done or even the efforts of what's being done. And from there, you can go on now to truly show your critiques where you think things could have been tweaked, where things could have been improved, where things are just poorly done and so on. Because you understand the story being told. But when I hear a critic who has no clue about the story that's being told because he's so busy trying to shred the story, there's an article on this about hyperbole. These critics with their hyperbole, but no content, not an inch of substance. They repeat themselves over and over. This was a bad this, bad cinematography, bad this. Okay, bad cinematography. How? It has to be bad in a context. It has to be bad in the context of the story being told. How did it detract from the story being told? A lot of hyperbole, but nothing. And don't give me something vague. You have to tell me something precise. Because you're a critic. And you're critiquing a film. Anyway, enough of my rant on these stupid critics. I'm really annoyed by some of them who really... I don't know why they're critiquing films. Or why they're critiquing certain genre of films. If you don't know shit about comic book movies, why the hell are you even trying to critique them? Okay? I've heard a stupid critic say, oh, this film was so shallow. Harlequin was only there for laughs and so. They don't even follow the story arcs. If you can't even follow the story arc, what the hell are you doing critiquing them? Anyway, I think I'm getting a little too emotional here. Because some people are just stupid. And the shallowness of their stupidity is what... Is this the era we're in? A bunch of stupid little dummies? Is this what the era we're in? Where's the intelligence? These are the people we're supposed to count on to have proper critiques of films. And don't tell me it's your opinion. I don't want to hear shit like that. You're in a newspaper. You have to have an informed opinion. You're supposed to be the expert. You're supposed to be the guy that determines if somebody gets an Academy Award or not. So don't come with shit like, oh, it's just my opinion. You're supposed to be better than that. You're supposed to have an informed opinion based on something that's somewhat objective. You have to at least have some degree of objectivity in what you're saying. If you can't do that, don't stick in the business, because fans like me and other fans who can see through your bullshit, we're going to come down on you like the Holy Ghost. And you're going to have a problem with us, because we can see through bullshit any day, any time. If you're getting your paychecks from Sony and Disney, listen carefully. If you're getting a paycheck from Disney and Sony, you better do a fine job of spin. Because if we see any little small piece of bullshit, we're going to show it. We're going to expose it. And I got all the time in the world to do that. Okay? I'm not one of those fanboys who just fan out because of a certain kind of film and I'm just a fan. No. I'm a different category of person. I use logic and reasoning. And I try to be as fair to films as possible. I didn't say Civil War was a horrible film. I'm not one of those fanboys. It's a good film. When I watch a movie, I'm looking at the story. I don't care about if it's Marvel or DC or whatever. I want to see what kind of film it is. So you can't pull bullshit on me. I write stories. I write songs. I do music videos. I do editing. So you cannot pull bullshit on me. I'm not one of those people you can bullshit. Okay? I do my homework before I go to watch any film. Any film, I do my homework on it first. I don't just step into the cinema to watch a film. Nah, I do homework on film. That's the difference between me and a blowhard asshole. Okay? I can tell you why, down to the specific element, something wasn't correct. Or something was wrong with the progression of the story. When somebody says inconsistent pacing, I can say bullshit on that. The pacing was the same. It was very consistent throughout the movie. It wasn't the pacing that was your problem. It was the speed at which the scenes were going. They were quite brisk. And they were shortened scenes, just like in BVS, the theatrical cut. Skipped along rather rapidly. And for someone who's trying to take mental notes of different things happening in the film, it can move a little faster than you expect it to. And it doesn't mean you have to go see a second viewing or third viewing. It just means that you take your time, get absorbed into the movie, because you need to understand what its story is telling you first before you can go into any other shit. You cannot sign out on a movie. You cannot sign out on lyrics of your music because the lyrics don't appeal to you. When you're reviewing music, you can't sign out on things. You have to listen all the way through. You have to divorce yourself from your emotions. Yes, your emotions are an important part of the experience, and you must make sure to say this didn't move me and that didn't move me, even though I understood what this was doing. But you cannot say that because it didn't move me, that means it wouldn't move audiences. You must also stress, but I can see how audiences will be moved by this because of X, Y, and Z. Your critique must be comprehensive. It must be on point. It cannot only be about feelings because you are representing a demographic. You must be able to see beyond yourself. You ask people to do the same in debates and arguments. Oh, I see your side. I see your side. But yet you can't do that as a critic. That's your job. My job is, I'm just a fan, so it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter my opinion. I'm a fan. I am allowed to say, do, and behave anyhow I want to do and behave. I'm a fan. But if I'm being critical of something, it's different. All right, you guys. You guys have a great one. Congrats again, all the fans of Suicide Squad. You guys did a great job. I really am happy to have worked with you guys. You guys have a great one now. And a good week. Safe week.